Mike, I'll throw this out to both of you guys, but Michael, we'll start with you. My father used to have us all go to church, Sunday school, with all the Apollo tie tacks. We had pictures of astronauts up in our house. You know, the pictures up to the papers up to Neil Armstrong walks on the moon. They were all saved, some framed. How can you begin to explain to people that were born after that time what astronauts like John Glenn meant to the United States of America and their people in the 1960s?
You are so absolutely right, Joe. You know, I've got two sons who are now 20 and 22, and for years I've been trying to explain to them what a big deal astronauts were, and especially John Glenn, and they understand it intellectually. But I think the biggest difference is you go back to the early 1960s, we all Americans had heroes that, you know, cross-cut every single category in America. Everyone loved them, everyone admired them. And I think one thing is nowadays we are so fractured, and, you know, people are so much in many cases into their own. You know, just think it, you know, try to come up with some, you know, replica, some equivalent of John Glenn in 2016. Very hard to do.
Yeah, and Mike, even today, when I see that shot of a rocket going up with the camera above it, you can't help but get chills, because that takes you back to that moment in time where that seemed to symbolize that even though the streets were filled with protesters and this country seemed to be tearing apart, we were doing one thing right.
Joe, the rockets that we see on TV today, or have seen in the past, those rockets are loud. The rocket that took John Glenn into space for the first time as an American around the Earth, that rocket was loud, but John Glenn was not loud. His service, his career was humble and quiet. And on the day that that rocket left the Earth on February 1962, and then Cape Canaveral, this country, much of the country, listened to it on radio, gathered around radios in gas stations and school auditoriums. That TV was nowhere near what it is today. But John Glenn remained true to who he was, the spirit of his life, the spirit of his service, until the day he died.
Mike Barnicle, Tom Brokaw, Michael Beschloss, thank you all very much for remembering John Glenn with us.